come in. So as you're coming in, get in the chat, say hello so that I know that you're here. And I'm just going to get some things up and going for us today. So let me know in the chat. There's going to be a little bit of a delay, and that's totally okay by me. I will put on up. Hey, Chelsea. Hi, Haley. Natalie, you made it. It's so late there, Natalie. It's so late. Lauren's here. Ellie, I didn't know you were coming. Hey, this is amazing. Okay, cool. Let me know in the chat. Yeah, people are coming. I love this. I am so cozy tonight because this is like talking to BFFs. That's really what I want this experience to be like. I'm feeling really grateful that you are all here. I know that there are some people who are coming, who are going to come and then are coming for the replay. I also put up like April 4th and then I said April 1st. Today is March 31st. So I don't know what sort of future I was living in, but I was there. But here we are, March 31st, a new moon, which I don't know about you. Is anybody feeling that like new moon energy? Did anybody wake up feeling super heavy? Did you feel like you just wanted to crawl back into bed? Let me know in the chat if that was you, because that was definitely me. You can't see me. Oh, Ellie, tell me more about that. Can everybody see me? Can people see me? Let me know. Pumped to be here. I'm just going to make sure. Gonna make sure it's a black screen. Does everybody else have a black screen? Oh, so it's just me like hanging out here? Weird. Weird. Let me see. Whoa. Okay. I don't know if this can change it. Does this change it? Can you see me now? Can you see me now? It's not very good visuals. Black screen, voice loud and clear, however. Interesting. You can't see me at all. People, why is this happening? That's okay. We're going to figure it out. We are really going to figure it out. Okay, there's black screen for me. I see myself. My camera's definitely on. Interesting. You can see me now? Can you see me now? Okay, beautiful. Okay, lovely. What did I do? I turned my camera off and then I turned it back on. So who knows what happened? As I was saying, was anybody feeling new moon? Yes? Were you feeling the tab said yes to the new moon? Anybody else feeling like hardcore new moon energy? Yeah. Okay. So what I want to do, what I promised to do, was to tell you a little bit like of my story, because I think that it's really beneficial for you to see how pervasive self-abandonment has been for me, so that I can then walk you through what I've done and what I continue to do over and over and over again in order to manage something that like is kind of ingrained in me. So if you are ready for the ride, if you are ready for for this journey, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, and then I'm going to share with you really about like the method. We're going to go into like workshop style stuff. So because of that, do I want to share this now? No, I'm going to tell you my story first. I've got notes so that I don't forget all of the times I've abandoned myself. And then it's going to be very workshopy, and I'm going to take you through a really lovely healing energy. So as any of the things that I say or share resonates with you, feel free in the chat to say hey, like a hey, like totally resonate, or a yes, or any sort of emoji. If anything that I'm saying absolutely resonates with you, this is going to be like a nice little back and forth. So really, my self-abandonment started when I was really young. I use it as a coping mechanism. You have your crystals in your notebook ready, Kristen? Yes. My mom was really young when she had me, and life was a little hard. We lived in a really big city. We didn't have a lot of support. And so the expectation that I felt was that I would be the good girl. I wouldn't create problems. I wouldn't create ripples. I would be very polite. And in a lot of ways, because of that, I kept my emotions to myself, because having emotions, having feelings meant that there was something wrong. And we didn't really have, or I didn't feel at that young age that we had the resources to do anything about there being things wrong. There just wasn't there weren't the resources for it. There weren't like the time capacity in order to like sit with feelings. And so what I learned at a very young age was to just not acknowledge my feelings, and was to really not bring them to the forefront at all. So from a young age, I just didn't bring anything to my parents. I didn't bring anything to my mom, my friends, no one. I just like internalized everything that I was feeling as a young child. When I would cry, when I would express, like frustration, those emotions were never met with any sort of acknowledgement, just because the reason we didn't have the resources. My family didn't have the resources, didn't know what to do with them. And so it was just like a pat, don't cry kind of situation. This sort of catapulted in my life and in my relationships to just saying yes to everyone. So it meant that, I would never take naps as a teenager. I would be helping other people. I would go to birthday parties that my sister was invited to, and helping those families at those birthday parties, even though I would much rather have been spending time with a friend or a boyfriend or doing something else. So I ended up saying yes to a lot of things. In the workplace, this became like the key thing that led me to burnout. The key thing that led me to burnout, because I would just say yes to this project and yes to this project and helping this person. For sure, I can volunteer for that committee and do all of these things. And so every time I said yes, it was taking me farther and farther away from what I really wanted, right? It's like when a friend invites you to the movies and you're like, oh, I don't really want to go, but you end up going because you don't want to make the friend feel bad. So it's a lot of really not honoring our own needs. And this really, really was noticeable when I came out at 24. So here I am, like, this is the best thing that has ever happened to me. Like, this is what love is meant to be like. And I'm just feeling so great, and really standing for my truth and not abandoning myself. And it ended up not being a really great experience for me. And so from that point, I realized that it doesn't matter what anybody else says. I need to actually stand up for myself and honor my own needs, because like, this is fucking bullshit, really. I don't want to live under everyone's movie of what my life should look like, because it doesn't fill me up. So countless relationships, countless experiences at work where I would just bypass my own feelings, bypass my own needs, do everything for everybody else, people please, left me feeling physically ill, mentally ill, emotionally ill, and really disconnected from who I was and what I wanted in my life. So at age 24, when I came out and it didn't go well, I was already at rock bottom. And I said, when I'm building myself back up here, I am not doing it everybody else's way. I'm going to do it my way. And so that's really where all of this sort of like self-care stuff and Love the Human School all came from, was just the fact of constantly shutting down my own feelings and not acknowledging them and pushing them, into the dark, and feeling like I have to cater to everybody else because that's what feels safe to me. Rocking the boat doesn't feel safe. It feels like I'm not going to receive love. I'm not going to receive attention. And so the best thing to do is just to be the good girl, to get through the day in order to get my needs, baseline needs, met. Was I getting my big needs met of big love and big appreciation? No. And so that's why I'm here today to share with you some of the things that I am doing, continuing to do, in order to not abandon myself and fall into that trap. So I want to share with you this document. It is sort of like a guide for us to go through together. If you're like me, you're probably going to skip ahead. So I'm not going to tell you not to skip ahead because you probably will anyway. And that's okay. But what I want to do is talk a little bit about like what self-abandonment is, what the examples are, and then to get a little bit more into like workshoppy stuff so that we are able to really have like a common language around what it means to what it means to actually self-abandon. So I'm just going to pull it up on my screen. Here we go. All right. It's coming. Slow moving. Let me know if sound is still okay and sound is still okay, video is still okay. Yes. Okay, cool. All right. So when we talk about self-abandonment, really what that is, thank you. Really what that is when we are ignoring parts of ourselves. It's when we know we need something and yet we choose to do something else. So for example, knowing that we need space and time alone in order to fill up. And yet when somebody asks us to do something, we end up saying yes to them and we say no to us. That's okay. I think it's so delayed. I know, I'm so sorry. I don't know if I'm loving the live stream. I think I might like Zoom a little bit better, but we're trying it out anyway. So other examples of self-abandonment would include things like putting somebody else's needs like really far ahead of your own. So yes, there's one thing of like saying yes to someone, but when you're putting somebody else's needs, when you're not sharing your desires, your feelings for fear of what somebody else is going to say or react or respond to, that's another example of self-abandonment. It also has to do with not trusting yourself. You know how we get like those little voices that say, put your seatbelt on, put your seatbelt on. It's like that, but it's mostly in terms of like dynamics with other people or with your own needs and your own desires. So when you get that feeling of like, maybe you shouldn't go and do that thing for that person, that's you not staying true to yourself or honoring yourself. It's you abandoning yourself and your actual needs. Another way that this comes out is having really high standards for yourself or having perfectionistic tendencies. That's a way that we self-abandon because there isn't that level of compassion for ourselves. There isn't that level of kindness and love of just being like human, right? And so sometimes it falls into that idea of fear of failure. It falls into the idea of not having that sense of worth just for being human. It's tied to something. It's tied to productivity. It's tied to outcome. It's tied to what other people think of us. And so we move through the world in a way where we're trying to seek validation from others, or we're trying to feel that love and attention by not showing up as ourselves, by sort of being this, for me, it was like the good girl, but for being this, model of somebody else's idea of what it means to be us. So when we think of self-abandonment, I think it's good to remember that there's like a breadth of examples that it could include, and it doesn't necessarily have to fit under any one particular scenario, but that it is just any time you are not honoring yourself and your needs, when you're putting others ahead of yourself in a way that is harmful to you, that doesn't allow you to take up space and be in the world in a way that honors what it is you truly need and how you truly want to feel. The thing about this that I think is really interesting, because you can hear all of this, and I don't know if you're like me, but it's like, oh my God, why am I like this? Like, why can't I just have boundaries? Why can't I just, feel good enough about myself that I don't have to act in these ways? And I want you to take a really big breath and just know that oftentimes this is because of things that have happened to us. We've become self-abandoners because it's been a coping mechanism, because it's gotten us to where we are today. It helped us to receive some type of love when we were younger, or some type of attention, which all children need. And so inside of us are these, I call it like mine's little Meg, or like little baby girl. She's just wanting to feel loved, and she's just wanting attention. And And she learned that the best way to get love and attention was to not create ripples, was to not share her opinion, was to not share her emotions or make other people feel uncomfortable with what she needed. And so I just learned, as a way of moving through the world to get those basic needs met, it was just to self-abandon, to not worry about myself, to do everything for everyone else. But then at the end of the day, I'm only getting baseline needs met, and they're not those like true deep needs where we come from that place of compassion and love and feeling worthy of more, right? The more we self-abandon, the less worthy we feel of having the big love, of having the things in our life that we are truly deserving of. So it often begins in childhood that we have these moments of self-abandonment, and then it just catapults into becoming our identity, and we become wired to respond to life in a certain way. So I don't know if you've ever felt the need to shapeshift. Has anybody felt this before, where you become one person with like one family member or one person with a friend? And so we're constantly sort of like moving through the world and manipulating our personalities or ourselves to fit the different types of groups so that love is not withdrawn, so that we feel safe in a way, or safe in our bodies. Let me know in the chat if that is you. And then what I'd love for you to do, if we go into that document, I'd love for you in that very first little box for you to write down one way that you've abandoned yourself and your needs. So one way that you've abandoned yourself and your needs. And feel free to share that in the chat at any point in time. I'm not sure what the time gap is. Yeah, and I'll put in the chat again. I'll put that link in the chat again so that you've got it. If I can get to the chat. This is fun. It's not letting me get all the way down. That's okay. Yeah, finish that off. There we go. There is the link again. Yeah, so we have bending my boundaries to keep the peace, ignoring and suppressing feelings. Any other ones that come up when you think of what ways you have potentially abandoned? Minimizing my intelligence. Yeah, that's a good one. And so knowing, or accomplishments. Yeah, I love that. So knowing that this idea of self-abandonment, this way of moving through the world, has been a coping mechanism for you, has been a way in which you have just decided is the best way to get those baseline needs met. How do you desire to feel? So when it comes to your self-compassion, when it comes to keeping boundaries, when it comes to not minimizing intelligence or suppressing feelings, how do you want to feel? Go ahead and write that in the chat, in the actual book. I don't know what's happening. I feel like it just changed. I'm sorry. I don't know what's happening with my technology. It's like a little dinosaur. I love it. I don't see the can't see yous. It's not popping up on my end, Ellie. I don't know what's happening. Can you see me though, is my question. I don't even know if you can see me. Are we in Mercury retrograde? Who knows? Okay, so we're gonna go into. Okay, cool. We're gonna go into the RE method. So now that we have this, I'd love to know how you want to feel. Like, what is the thing that you want to feel? And make sure you have that. because self-abandonment is a learned behavior, it means that we can unlearn it, which is actually kind of cool. And I want to share with you some of the ways that I have done that, some of the ways that we can do it together. And I want to introduce you to the RE method. So this is a method that I created from Lovely Human School, and it actually works in so many different ways, in so many different contexts. And so obviously I teach English, and I just I'm obsessed with alliteration. So we have reconnect, rewire, and revolutionize. And reconnect is all about coming back to ourselves. And so when we think about self-abandonment, we think of not honoring our needs. What we need to do first and foremost is come back and build a home within ourselves. We do that with self-love. We do that with self-care. We do that with continuous practices that allow our nervous system to start to soften and feel okay to stand on our own 2 feet and not have to shape shift in order to get our needs met from other people. So it's taking that focus on the outer and bringing the focus on the inner and what we can do to support ourselves so that we can then show up in the world and ask for what we need from people in a healthy way, not a codependent way, but an interdependent way where we are like sovereign beings, sovereign humans, feeling okay about ourselves without the influence of others. So it's really about moving away from the chaotic sort of chains of abandonment, of where we're feeling like we're being pushed and pulled in all different directions to be all the things for all the people, instead of just realizing that we are okay on our own and we can be ourselves in the world. So reconnect is that first part, presence, coming back to self. Rewire, on the other hand, is where we start to use a little bit more of that brain science and think about neuroplasticity and how we can actually change the patterns of how our brain fires and wires so that we can actually become recovered self-abandoners, right? It's like the recovered people pleaser. So this is where we talk about how we show up in the world with other people. So it's boundaries, it's our relationship dynamics, it's how we start to take action outwardly or in the world. Reconnect is the inside job. Rewire is the outside job. That's when we start to put things into place in order to really think about how we can stand strong and be an advocate for what we need in the world. And then finally, we have revolutionize. And that's sort of where everything comes together. And we start thinking now that we have the foundation, sort of what's next? How can I use what I've learned here and create change in the big scheme of things? Maybe it's at work, maybe it's in my family, maybe it has to do with, relationships in the past that I now need to heal. So revolutionize is let's now start to evolve and grow and take the next step. So if you have any questions about that, or what questions do you have about that, put it in the chat. And then I'm going to take us on a little journey here. We're going to do a little written journey. We're going to do a meditation. And then I'm excited to share with you some really great resources and talk you through those resources and how they've helped me and how they might be able to help you. So taking a little sip. And then we'll take a nice big breath in together. We've got a nice four-legged friend joining us. Little sweet boy. And so speaking of sweet boys, sweet kids, I want to know, what are ways that you self-abandoned as a child? So when you were younger, if you need to think back, close your eyes, hand on your heart. How did you abandon as a child? What was it? What was it that you did or didn't do that wasn't really aligned, that took you away from your needs, that took you away from your desires? What are the ways that you self-abandon? You can write in the chat. You can write it in that Google Doc. Stopped expressing my emotions because when I did, it was too much or bad. Yes. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. And once you've got your thing, you can also go to the next question. And I want us to reframe this. So often we think about the things that have happened to us or how they show up in our lives, and we fail to see how it's actually served us or helped us or have gotten to where we are right now. So I want you to think about, how was this a coping mechanism? So in this example, how was not expressing your emotions, how did it serve you then? What did it allow for? Did it allow for your needs to be met in some way? What was the benefit to you? What did you learn from it? What were the things that you could potentially see as, you know, this helped me get through life. This is the reason why I'm alive today. This is the reason why X, Y, and Z. So in that second spot, you can write down how this was a survival tactic, how it served you early in life or even later in life. And then I want you to consider, in what small or big ways does it still show up today? So what are the things, or what are the ways that this way that you abandon yourself as a child still show up today? What are the threads? What are the ways that it might still be here? So in this case, it made me feel strong, and it also brought me more praise and love than when I expressed my emotions. And so for that, you know, we were able to, oh no, Kristen lost her connection. Kristen, let me know if you're here. I feel like the tech is being silly. My sincerest apologies. Maybe it's me on my end. It's okay. We'll work through it. Anything else about how this could potentially have helped you in some way? Let's reframe it, or let's have compassion and forgiveness for ourselves that we chose to abandon ourselves for a reason. Yeah. And then finishing out how it shows up today, and just sitting with that for a moment. Yeah, so it made you realize that you were more capable than you thought. So just go ahead and sit with that. And you know what I think we're going to do? I would love, we're just making it work here. Okay. I'm going to put a link in the chat. I want to be with you. This leg not working for my vibe. We're going to head over to Zoom. I'll post up in our online thing. We're going to go to Zoom. You're going to put in self-care as the password. Let's see if we can do it all in one here. But we're going to go over, okay? We're going to go over. We're going to hang out in that space because this is not doing it for me, and I value teaching, and this is not it. So, cool. I'm over here. I'm already in. I don't know how I can have two things on at once. That's kind of neat. But this is what we're going to do. I'm going to move you here, and I'm going to move you over here. This is way better. Come and see me. Come and see me in Zoom. Lauren's in. Thank God. Thank God. This is so much better. Okay. Preferences, audio. We're going to use this. All right, Lauren, can you hear me? I bet you can.
I can hear you. Thank God. I can see you.
Oh my God, amazing. We're just going to do it here because this is dumb.
I was trying to figure out how to get the Google Docs to work. And
did you get into the Google Docs?
I did.
Okay, cool.
been a long day.
It's okay. Natalie, so glad you're in. You stayed up for this. Chelsea is here. I'm just so done. It won't let you in, Madison. Are you there? Oh, Ellie and Lexi. Hey. We are not fans of circles streaming. This is not a good vibe. Yes, the Zoom link is right there, Jess. It is in the chats. Jess, it's my usual link. We'll just get everybody over, and this is way better. Yeah, love it. Okay, cool. We have 8 people still in the other room. I mean, you have to give us props for trying. No. Now that I can like see you and you're real humans, did you have cameras on in the other place? I couldn't see you if you had cameras on. No cameras. Screw circle. They're going to see that now. They're going to have like the thing. Screw circle. It's the double FU. Okay, cool. Why don't you let me know how you are feeling now that I can see you like real time in the chats? Like, is this landing with you? Is this resonating? I absolutely love being in your energy, I realize, rather than like seeing words on a screen. This is nice. So tell me how you're feeling. Is this resonating? Do you feel less alone? What's the vibe after hearing this content? Also, feel free to unmute now that you can. More than welcome. Yes. Validating.
Yeah, I agree with Elle.
Cool. Awesome. Do you want to add on to that, Lauren?
It's just, I guess I never realized that these were things that I did.
Yeah.
Subconsciously, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And when we trace it back, can we all see how it was a coping mechanism, like how we kind of had to do it to get by? Are we all on that same page, or was it something that came later in life? Was it as a result of an interaction with someone or a relationship? What's the thing? What's the connection? Yeah, we have totally. Okay, cool. Awesome. Okay, Haley's in, Maddie's in. It's like an onion and you keep discovering a new layer. Yeah, you bet. You bet. All right. I would love, now that you're here, I would love to know, how does it show up today? So how does your self-abandonment show up for you now, like as an adult? And feel free to share stories like verbally. You're more than welcome to unmute. Sometimes it's really nice and really healing to share out loud. And we're not recording anymore. So like, have at her.
I'll share.
Thanks, Ellie.
I feel like for me, I shared this in the chat in the live, but I feel like it shows up in like resistance to express or to cry. And like, that's something that I'm so conscious of now. So I welcome tears when I'm with myself, but I notice it around others. Like I find myself kind of putting on armor when it comes to fully expressing my emotions. And so it's like, I feel it in my the resistance, or I feel that there's like an edge there. And I have to like consciously be like, okay, break through this. It's safe. It's okay. So that's where I see it come up for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds like you've also done some work, or like you acknowledge it, and then you have now like ways of navigating around that to avoid the continual pattern of abandoning.
Totally.
Yeah. I love that. Thanks for sharing. Tab wrote fear in relationships. Do you want to elaborate? Do you want to tell me more? You don't have to though, but I just am giving you the platform. She's typing. While she's typing, anybody else want to share how self-abandonment? Yeah, Kristen, go.
I think for me, it's been like, because like you, I internalized and I suppressed everything.
Mm-hmm.
So now I try to like poo-poo things away for myself and just say, oh, just get over it, or let it go, or you're being a baby, or this is too much, instead of actually being able to identify it and say, this really fucking bothered me.
Yeah.
And this really makes me very mad.
Yes.
You know? Instead of shoving that down to like be a peacekeeper and just go with the flow.
Right. Because when we were younger, and if we were saying, whether it was in our childlike ways or as an adult, this fucking bothered me, there were consequences. With like love was withdrawn, attention was withdrawn, that need for belonging was like taken away and stripped away. So we learned then that when we used our voices, when we expressed our feelings, that bad things happened, right? Bad things happen. And so then when we became adults where we were able to make our own choices, we already had this sort of imprint in us that said like, oh no, emotions are bad. Like, don't share that because you're not going to have anyone, right? And then the fear of abandonment comes in. And so instead of, what ends up happening is that we fear abandonment. And so therefore we just abandon ourselves, right? Because we don't want to be abandoned by other people. So we'll just abandon ourselves to make it happen so that we have people in our life. Well, have people in our life, right? It's a matter of how we look at it. Yeah. Is that like a hey for other people or like fuck yes for other people? Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't realize that this was like a trend. Like I thought it was just me, as I was going through like even issues in my marriage and feeling like, I felt like I was so conditioned to just putting my wife ahead of me, right? Like, oh, I have to be there for her. Oh, her needs are so much more important than mine. Her feelings are more important than mine. And so I ended up not sharing my truth, and then compounded over time. What ends up happening is then when I try to speak my truth, it's just so uncomfortable for both of us because it was never a thing in the beginning, right? All of a sudden I'm just saying how I feel and we're both like, what the fuck? Like you have feelings that are that big and we didn't know what to do with them. She didn't know what to do with them because I didn't know what to do with them. And so what I learned is that first what we have to do is we have to come back to ourselves. We have to acknowledge our own feelings. And the way that we do that is by taking time. And for me, the very first step was saying no, right? Starting to just say no to people, saying no to that commitment, saying no to that engagement, saying no to that person, and just starting to take things off my plate so that I was able to have this space to like get to know myself again. So I'm curious to know, how are you in terms of your relationship with yourself right now? Because we're going to be like a spectrum, right? Like some of us are going to be like, having done this work for a while. Some of us are like, oh, I'm just starting the work and it's icky. Some of us are going to be in the thick of things somewhere around the middle. So where do you feel you are at right now in that journey of starting to come back to yourself? How close do you feel you are to yourself? Let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, we're just going to make a number up. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is like, I don't even look at myself in the mirror. And 10 is like, I'm giving myself the gun and the wink in the mirror, being like, I know you, I feel you. What number would you give yourself? Where'd you be at? I feel the like the uncomfortable. It's like the itching the neck, the touching, cool. Yeah. And I want to acknowledge you, right? There's no right or wrong answer here. Truly, right? This is the best thing I found about getting in groups with humans. It's like, fuck, we can do so much more together, right? When we know each other's stories, when we feel like we're not alone, when we see that it's not just us, it sort of like gives us an opportunity to breathe and be like, oh, okay, like I can actually get somewhere here because I'm not alone. And I see that there is hope and there is a way and there is sort of like a path or framework that I can follow. So I just want you to look at the chat and see those numbers and feel that, right? Whether you're a 0, whether you're a 10, it doesn't matter because we all have inklings of this in ourselves. It is how we've been programmed, right? So when we think about the reconnecting piece, when we think about the rewiring piece, truly, we just need to break it down into really small doses, because when we start to think of like, I just abandon myself all the time and where the heck am I going to start? Like it just becomes overwhelming with like life that's already overwhelming for us. Like throw in a pandemic, throw in wars, throw in like all the things that are like constantly being at us. And we're just like, I just give up. Like I'm under the covers. I'm not coming out. I'm numbing out, scrolling on Instagram, TikTok, whatever. That is just easier, right? But it is not how you are meant to live. You are meant for a big life. You are meant to do big things. You are meant to release the baggage that you came into this world with. You are meant for your soul to expand and to make a huge fucking impact. I believe this to be true. I believe this to be true for every human that I have ever met in my entire life, whether they are very lovely on the outside or I'm like scraping away at the layers to look at the little slice of lovely on the inside. I believe that we are meant to live extraordinary lives. And so because of that, because I know you are deserving, because I know you are worthy, this is something that we're going to start on tonight. We're going to get it in your cells as a step number 1 to really start to feel like, okay, there's something on the other side of this. This is just something that's programmed into me. This is just something that is wired. And sometimes we just need a little kick in the ass, right? Like sometimes you just need somebody to be like, there is something more here for you, and that you just have to take one tiny step forward because it is still a step forward. Okay. So tell me how you're feeling with that just in general. How are you feeling with that just in general? Let me know. Thumbs up. I do this thing. I love that when I do a thumbs up with my students. I get them to do emojis and they have to like pick an emoji. And sometimes it'll be like hamburger emoji and like an octopus emoji. And they just like do the weirdest emojis. And I get very distracted by it. I always say I'm like the dog from Up. That's like, oh my God, squirrel. The emojis. I'm just like, did you see the bunny? Did you see Hallie and her butt? And they're like, we don't care really about the emojis, Megan. But that's just what makes it, fun and enjoyable because this is life. What I would love for us to do is to do something that's like a heart coherence meditation, but sort of mixed in with it's like tuning into possibilities meditation. And both of these are grounded in Dr. Joe Dispenza's work. But I'm kind of like colliding them and making it my own. So I don't know. I'll come up with a name. Natalie is like, I've done this before. I said squirrel and the dog jumped up. I'm so sorry. I won't say the S word again. So what I want you to do, pen and paper, you've got it. And when we think about really like the opposite of self-abandonment in my eyes is self-worth, right? It's like standing in our truth, our authenticity. I want you to pick a word. So whether it's self-worth, whether it's authenticity, whether it's a different word than that, could be any word, truly, whatever feels good for you. I want you to write it down. So I'm going to write SW. It's going to be on the page like this, like SW. It's backwards for you, but whatever. And you're going to do 2 squiggly circles around it. So it's going to kind of look like this. So whether it's self-worth, whether it's something else, and then you're going to write the word on one side, intentions. Intentions. So when you think of self-worth or authenticity, I want you to create a picture of what that is like. So what would it be like to be standing in your truth? What would it be like to be the opposite of self-abandonment? But we're not going to use like the negative words, right? It wouldn't be like, I'm not going to give up my power. That's like negative connotation. Instead, we would say, I'm going to stand in my power. Do you see the difference between that? Yeah. So I want you to write out like 3 to 4 intentions of what it would be like to be that thing. What would self-worth look like? What would it feel like? What would that be? You could say saying no. I know that the word no is negative, but saying no is like, or only saying yes to myself. Doing things I want to do. That might be another intention. Maybe it's crying, right? Maybe it's like, I will cry when I want to cry. I will share my feelings when they come up. And so what would it look like to be standing in that authenticity? Maybe you even notice like what your body language is like. Right? Sometimes we have the physiology of like rounded shoulders. And there's some big studies that show what happens, like especially when we're on our phone all day, chin is lowered, shoulders are rounded. And this actually sends a message to the brain that is like depression, 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 right? When we puff up our chest, roll our shoulders back and gaze up, usually like horizon, or like even if we want to go bigger than that, where the roof or like the ceiling and the wall meet, those are signs to our brain of like joy and happiness and possibility. And so I know some of you, I've talked to this about this before, but even like the Superwoman stance, right? Of hands on your hips, legs are wide. You hold this for 2 minutes, chest proud. It literally changes the cortisol level in your body, right? Like that is big stuff. Right? We're just hacking our system for a different feeling. So maybe for you, self-worth is just naturally standing that way. It is naturally having your chest up, your chin up, your shoulders back. Do we need any more examples for intentions? Or do we got them? Thumbs up. Okay. Then what I want you to do is emotions on the other side. What would it feel like to be in this? Right? What would it take? Would it be you just operating from love? Would it be you operating from gratitude? Would it be you're just like in awe with your strength? Are you feeling a sense of wonder because you are just living your authentic, truthful self with all of your needs being met from yourself? If you don't know an emotion, sorry about that. If you don't know an emotion, gratitude is the first one because it's easily accessible, right? We could be grateful for this call. We could be grateful that we woke up this morning. Gratitude's always a really good one to go to. So you should have intentions, you should have emotions, you should have a letter or 2 letters in squiggly lines. Let me know when you've got it. We have one depressed doggy over here. He's like, my needs are not being met. I am not getting the pets. Okay. So do we have it down? Do we feel ready? Okay, cool. So what we're going to do, I'm going to walk you through. Let's see if this works. All right. I'm going to walk you through a meditation journey experience here. And we are going to start to really tune into our hearts. So the connection between our hearts and our brains, we actually, I'm not getting into science. There's just a lot of I'm just going to, you just have to take my word for it so you don't like waste time in the specifics of the science. There is a lot of research that shows when we operate from our heart, when we actually open our heart, which can be measured through a bunch of different little electrodes and where our energetic frequency is, when we operate from this space instead of this space, when we tune into our actual hearts, it softens our nervous system in a way that regulates us, that brings us back into feelings of safety, back into feelings of love. And from that place, we can actually manifest and we can actually tune into possibilities and create an energetic match for the thing that we want. So if we are living in abandonment and we're just thinking about like, oh, I just keep saying yes to everybody else, yes to everybody else, we have to break the cycle. And the way that we break the cycle, lovely human school, is we get to love. Right? Where does love live? Love lives in our heart. So we're going to get into our hearts. We're going to get into love sort of as like step number 1 to kind of crack the code and feel what it would be like to be in self-worth, to be in authenticity, to be in truth, to be in the way that we want to be every single day. We're just going to shrink it down and do it in 8 to 10 minutes. Cool? All right. So what I would say before we start is you want to get comfy. I am like a chronic lying down, headphones, dark lights, heavy blankets kind of journeyer. So you do what you need to do. If you need to get comfy, if sitting is happy for you, you can sit. I love having headphones in just because it quiets this little guy and any sort of outside noises. So if headphones are good for you, take like 1 minute to get what you need. We all know that I'm going to be putting on Garth Stevenson, The Southern Sea, because it is my go-to song for all things breathing. Yeah, turn off your cameras. We're going to be here. If you want, you can keep them on. I can feel you regardless. All right. And let me know if that sound is okay with my voice. Can you hear it? Yeah, thanks, Kristen. Lovely. No fish bowls. And we're just going to get super calm, super quiet. And just start to breathe in. And if at any point in time my sound goes, you just let me know and I'll fix it. And so you're going to close your eyes, and wherever you are, I want you to take a big exhale out. Your next inhale, fill up through your nose. And out your mouth again, maybe a big sigh, like a That's it. And find a rhythm here of inhale to exhale. And allow yourself to just get heavier and heavier. And let whatever is underneath you, the couch, the chair, the bed, the floor, just let it hold you here. And breathe in. And breathe out. And I want you to bring your awareness down into your heart. And so imagine that your heart is what is breathing. It opens on an inhale, pulls in, and then exhale, it releases out. See if you can continually bringing your awareness there, right to the heart. And just find yourself connected here. You might be more aware of your heartbeat. You might feel heavy. You might be emotional, but just connecting to your heart. And from that place in your heart, we're going to harness those emotions. I want you to try to feel and create the buzz of whatever emotion you wrote down. If it was love, I want you to bring love into your body. You may need to do this by remembering a time where you felt love. If it's joy, you might have to recall a time that you were really joyful. You can play out a movie in your head so that you can feel those feelings. Maybe you see what you saw, hear what you heard. So just get that feeling into your body. Whatever emotion you wrote down, get it into your body. Bring it all the way to your toes, right to your fingers, even up to your third eye. Let it buzz between those eyebrows. Just let it fill you up. And take a few more breaths here, still holding on to this feeling. And if you feel the feeling dissipating, bring back that movie, that memory of that time that you felt it. Let it come throughout your whole body here, head to toe. Let it expand, let it radiate. And then when you're ready, I want you to bring in the intentions, right? What does self-worth, what would that look like? What would showing up with authenticity? Each of the intentions that you wrote down on your page, I want you to see them. As you hold the love, the joy, the gratitude, as you hold those emotions, let your intentions now take over as the movie. Let those intentions play over and over again so you can see yourself and feel yourself. Breathing in, breathing out. And hold onto it for 3 more breaths. Let that movie get clearer and brighter. Hold on to that sensation. And then when you're ready, a big breath in. And exhale, let it go. And start to think about and feel about the possibility of you standing in your power. That it is possible. A nice exhale out your mouth. And dropping your shoulders. And take a few more breaths to just come back to your body, come back to this moment. And telling yourself here that you are deserving of having all your needs met, of having your voice heard, right, this is the first step. And when you're ready to come on back up, there's no rush. Just making your way back out of your journey. slowly. And if you feel like sharing in the chat how you're feeling, how that was. Peaceful and empowering. I remember the first time that I did this, I was like, I can't feel my heart. I don't know how to feel my heart. And so if you are at that place, know that that is valid and normal. And the thing is that we just keep coming back to this, and it just keeps getting easier. So if you were there, or even if you do this 3, 4, 5 times on your own, because you could just do it before bed. You can just like breathe into your heart, get that emotion in your body, think of the intention, get there, stay there for a little bit, and then come back. The more you do that, the easier it's going to get. And if you fall off, it's just like, it's okay. The compassion is there. It's like a distraction, right? I get pulled out of meditations all the time. Does it make me a bad meditator? No, right? It makes me human. So having that awareness for ourselves, and it doesn't have to be perfect, because that's just feeding into our self-abandoner ways, right? Like if we're thinking it has to be perfect, it's not. That's what we're moving away from. Kristen says she didn't want to leave. How was that for everyone else? How did it feel being there? Were you able to tune in? Were you able to feel it, see it? Any questions you have about what that experience was like?
That was the first time in a long time that I felt that meditation has been that easy.
I love that. I love that. Thanks for sharing. I'm celebrating you. Yeah. Love it. What do you think was it just the fact that you were focusing on something? The breathing? What was the thing so that you can recreate it?
I think part of it was the energy from other people. I've been doing it just alone, and I've been missing that my yoga energy that I used to get pre-COVID, and it just felt like validated with people who feel me and see me.
Yeah.
And just comfortable.
Yeah. Like nervous system regulation, right? You could kind of put those walls down and just be like, oh, I can just be myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Just went to the top of the biggest mountain she's climbed, felt powerful and happy, full of accomplishments. I love that. Thank you for sharing it. Anybody else want their voice heard in this space? Their experience validated? How was that for you? Ooh, we're 9:03. Megan Sarah. Bad Teacher Award. Anyone want to share? No pressure. Okay. Yeah, feel free to write in the chat. If it pops up, it pops up. Would love to share. Would love to share a few resources with you. So I know we only have an hour. There's something that's coming though that will be like way more robust, and we'll have like way more of this, and we'll do it all on Zoom, and we're not going to do it on Circle because I love being in your energy. Did anybody else notice the shift in energy when we all came on Zoom? Could you feel it? Fucking crazy. I'm swearing a lot tonight. But if you don't like, I feel like you're all here and you like it, it's fine. But the energy shift was real, right? We could create a lot more. I can also like move a lot more energy when I see you. And I'm so grateful that you're all on camera. That's amazing. So we won't do the circle business anymore. But if you look in that document, and I'll repost it here in case you lost it in the transition. I think that it's really important to know that we all start somewhere, and some things that work for me aren't going to work for you. Some things that work for you aren't going to work for me. And that's okay. There have been so many books that I have started that I have never finished. And I'm just like, it's fine. If I don't like a book, I am not going to continue reading it. Maybe I'll pick it up in 2 years. Maybe I'll give it away. It doesn't matter. I'm only up for things that are going to take me closer to how I want to feel. Right. And so if I'm reading a book and it's not aligned with me, cool, pass it on. So what I have here, some of these might work, some of them might not, and that's okay. Okay. It doesn't mean that you're broken. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you, that like a certain meditation doesn't land or somebody's podcast voice is annoying you. Cool. Okay. So under Learn, there's Untamed by Glennon Doyle is obviously like the book for self-abandonment. Like we know this, right? It spiraled me for 3 weeks after I read it, but it's there for you. A new one that I've just read is Self-Care for Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents, which is the longest title of life. However, it's sort of like the sequel to the other book that they wrote, just about being like a child of a parent that was emotionally immature. And this isn't to like blame our parents for things. I think it's really stepping into compassion of like, they didn't always have the resources and they didn't mean harm, but we ended up becoming patterned in a way that has affected us. And that's okay. That's our job to fix now. That's our job to work through. And it's our opportunity to heal not just us, but also our family lineage. So there's some really good things here that really have to do with self-abandonment, have to do with some inner child work. It didn't start with you also makes me feel really great that it's not all my fault. And that, you know, I'm holding trauma in my cells that are it's not just trauma for me, it's like trauma from generations past. So there's a lot of like epigenetics talk in here, but Mark Wolynn does it in a really great way. And the Audible is fantastic. There's a few other things here. I gave 3 podcasts, options. 2 are episodes. 1 is an actual channel that's like all about worthiness. And that's kind of cool if that's the way you want to consume some content. When I think about the things that have helped me, connecting with myself every day in some way has been really beneficial. Okay. So whether that's doing it, you know, I'm writing or I'm reading or I'm walking with myself, it's so easy for us to just get caught up in these moments of like downtime and just like go on our phones or do things for other people or like get the dishes done, clean the laundry. Like we need to carve out time for ourselves. Like it has to be a non-negotiable, especially as people who typically self-abandon. We can't do that. We need to carve out the time. And so accountability can be really helpful with that. It's also really helpful to know how you want to feel because we can't really make choices if we don't know how we want to feel. So I always say, if I were to wave my magical self-care queen wand and you could feel any 3 feelings, what would those feelings be? Figure that out, then figure out what takes you closer to those feelings, what takes you farther away, so that when you have the downtime, you can start to do things that feel good, right? If yoga doesn't make you feel good right now, if it doesn't take you closer to how you want to feel, then don't freaking do it right now, right? We can have like a buffet of self-care where we can pick and choose what takes us closer. And then we can start to make decisions I always say like the Doritos bag, it does not take me closer, right? So like I'm going to choose to have a bowl of Doritos instead of the whole fucking bag of Doritos. I also think it's important to watch who you're with. I felt really isolated in my life, basically my entire life. And so I feel like it's really important to watch who you're with. And maybe this means that, you know, not that you stop being friends with people, but that you just prioritize your health by spending more time with people who see you, who get you, who fill you up, and who takes you closer to how you want to feel. And when I was just starting this, like, you know, wellness journey out, I found people online, right? Like I was like listening to Brene Brown, like she was my best friend, listening to Gabby Bernstein, like she was my best friend. And then eventually what happened is that was the vocabulary that I was surrounded with, that idea of compassion and worthiness. And so no longer was I listening to friends who were bitching and complaining about how hard life was and how this person, like, it's just like gossip bullshit. Right? What does that do for my energy? I'm already trying to please everybody else. So I get sucked into it. And then all of a sudden I'm this like miserable human, right? That's not who I'm meant to be. We are not meant to be those people. And so just being really, really cognizant of who you're spending your time with, and really, you know, it doesn't have to be like, you're bad, I'm good, I'm on this journey, you're not. Like, we don't have to do that. It's just, I'm just gonna check out for a little bit, right? I'm just going to unfollow people from a place of love and kindness for myself. I'm just not going to make plans with that friend, or I'm going to have a conversation, be like, listen, I feel like shit after we're together. Like, to be honest, right? I don't feel good. I go home and I want to nap for 2 hours because you just drained the life out of me. So either we do this like journey together, or I'm just going to need to take some space. And maybe it won't be as cutthroat as that. But I've seen myself catapult in my healing by being surrounded by people who get me, by people who see me and love me and remind me every single day that I'm good. Right? A little shout out to Ellie for being that person for me in the last 2 years. Never met in real life, but like, you're my one. And so it's really powerful making those friendships and being able to go to those people when you're in your low moments, being like, I feel really lost right now. And having someone be like, I see you, I will remind you, and I will bring you back to the light and the love that I see in you. And so I just want like those two things, connecting with yourself every day, watching who you're spending your time with. Those have been the key pieces for my healing. And then I also have under healing, breath work is really big. We know this. The heart coherence meditations, energy healing. I started doing Tai Chi. Let me tell you, I am obsessed with Tai Chi. It's like moving and breathing at the same time. And I'm pretty perceptive with energy. And I can literally feel when I go like this, I can feel my heart opening. And then I can feel myself like really stepping into my power because I'm taking up physical space while breathing. So if yoga isn't your thing, I have a link for like a 5-minute Tai Chi. And I just think we should all do it sometime. And then last thing I want to say to you under heal is mirror work. Okay. We need to be looking at ourselves. We need to be looking at ourselves in the eyeballs and saying, you are amazing. I love you, right? All of those affirmations, all of those good things. So I always make a point, like, does anybody go on their phone when they're brushing their teeth? Who goes on their phone when they're brushing their teeth? Anybody? Oh, good. Brush your teeth twice a day. Yes. Do we do this twice a day? Mm-hmm. We're going to habit stack. While you are brushing your teeth, you are going to awkwardly make eye contact with yourself in the mirror. It's weird, I know, but it's going to be your opportunity to see yourself and recognize yourself. Is it your most glamorous self? No. Does that make it even better? Heck yes. Okay. So that you can accept yourself and learn to take up space and also look at your very pretty chiclets. Cool. How do those sound? Does any of those resonate, or which ones resonate? Are you like, that's one I want to try? Are you like, yes to the Tai Chi? Are you yes to the watch who you're with? What's the thing? What's the thing that you're like, ooh, got that? Want to know. Tell me. The mirror work. Yes. Maddie's who I spend time with. Beautiful. The Tai Chi. Yeah. Ceremonial swords will always be a yes. Yes. Oh, I love that, Natalie. Awesome. Okay. We are 9:15 and I always do this and I'm not going to. So on the next page, as I was creating this, I was like, we need to do more of this. I can't do this in 60 minutes. So I'm going to be doing a mini course starting April 14th to 28th. This was not planned. Elle can attest to that because I was just like, oh, I'm just going to do this for fun, whatever. And then I was like, holy shit, we have too much information here. Purely channeled. Yeah. So no pressure. We're going to do this on Circle, but we're going to do Zoom instead. Pay in full. I also fucked this up and I made it Canadian. So any of you Americans, cool for you. Or if you're not, if you're in the UK, also cool for you because Canadian dollar is like not great right now. Good for you. But it's going to be $197 Canadian. And then anybody who's like not in this cohort, it's going to be $297. So keep this link for yourself. This is for nobody else except for you. If you want, this is here for you. If you want more support and you like don't want to do the 8-week course that I do, that's like a higher price. Or if you don't want to do one-on-one coaching, whatever, cool. I just want to offer this to you. So we'll skip through that. It's there for you. Again, no pressure, but I just want you to know that there is more work to be done here. There's definitely more work to be done. And I don't want you to do it alone. I did it alone for a very long time, and it is very hard to do this work alone because when we self-abandon, we tend to isolate ourselves and we just like keep those feelings down. And I really want there to be a space for you to share those feelings. And a lot of this was me talking tonight, but I want to take more time in those 3 weeks to really be able to like share our stories and start to take action in taking up space, because it is what we deserve. And I know that life is so much better living in that authenticity. And really, I've seen like a lot of my relationships shift in saying like, I'm not standing for this anymore. I deserve more than this. I deserve to be loved in this way. I deserve to take up space in this way. I deserve my voice to be heard in this way. And I want you to feel that power too. I feel like, yeah, it feels unstoppable at the moment of like, I could do anything. Like, the sky is the limit. And it's only because I've really let go of that self-abandonment piece and have come back to myself and prioritized myself. And I'm like, I owe people nothing. Even my family. I don't owe you. You birthed me. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. This world, I was brought into it because of you, but I don't owe you anything. My peace, my pleasure, that's my priority. And so I want that for you too. So if I can help you in that way, let's fucking do it together. Before we go, I want you on that last page to write down what's one step you can take to not abandon yourself, to ride this wave. Now that we're here together, what's one step you can take to not abandon yourself? What are you committed to? Starting today, starting tomorrow? Oh, Natalie, the pearl. Yeah, baby. Yes. You don't thank the door for the house, but you can still appreciate it. I love that metaphor. Yes. And then I'd love to hear from you. If you want to like share with your voice and claim it, what is one step that you are taking? Feel free to unmute. What are you doing? Is it the teeth brushing?
I'm going to stop taking on too much at work.
Yes. Yes. I love that. Say no, baby. Who else? Let's claim it. Let's put it in right here.
I'm going to communicate and follow through on my boundaries, especially as I'm surrounded by a lot of family in the upcoming weeks.
Yes. Yes, yes. Love that. Thank you. What else? You know, I'm a teacher. I can wait forever, right? Like we can have the staring contest. I'm staring at you in the grid. It's fine.
Well, I am wedding planning, so I am also going to hold my boundaries with family.
Yes. I love that. Boundaries are big. Boundaries are what we're going to talk about week 2. That's under the rewire boundaries. What else? Lauren, what are you feeling? Yeah, how are you feeling?
I think just making baby steps to making like good decisions and trying to do things that make me happy and surround myself with people who can help me do that.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's perfect. Perfect. Do you have a few people in mind? People who make you feel good? They can be Brene Brown and Gabby Bernstein. I'm telling you, they can be people that you just like wish you were friends with, you know?
Yeah. My nephew is someone who makes me happy.
Amazing. Soak in that energy. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. We have some in the chat. Natalie says, I'm getting help and not doing everything alone, setting up childcare this week. Day job work is getting shared and so much more. Yeah. There's something about like us self-abandoners. We're like, we have to do it all. Like we have to do all the things. And if we don't do all the things, it means there's something wrong with us. Right. And so, it's really important that we start to think, who can we delegate this to? How can we ask for support? Knowing that it is really, really important for our health and wellness, emotional, mental, to actually ask for that help. Okay. Anybody else? Any last thoughts here? Anything? So good. Yeah. So good. All right. I am so grateful that you showed up tonight, and also grateful that we made the move to Zoom. That was a good teacher move on my part. It's so nice to see your faces, and it's so nice to be able to do this. I hope moving forward, if you feel the call, that we could work together in some way, whether you're just watching on Instagram or whether we end up doing the 3 weeks together. I feel like there's magic here, and I think that there's a lot of good stuff to come. So if you need any sort of payment plan stuff, I am like payment plan queen. I'll always take a good payment plan. So you just let me know how I can help you, how I can support you. And if nothing else, know that you are deserving. Know that you are deserving of love. Know that you are deserving of your needs being met, all of your needs being met, and that it is possible. And the best way is to start to prioritize ourselves and start to remember that we are worth it just by existing, just by existing. So I'm going to get good vibes together. I always do this. You're going to get good vibes. So get your hands nice and warm. And I want you to like channel a little bit of love into those hands. And like the feeling of like, oh, thank God this is a safe container to talk about things, that kind of feeling. And then send it out to each other just as an act of gratitude. And then go ahead, take those hands right to your heart, soak it all back in. You are so loved, you are so supported, and you are here for a reason. And I want you to remember that. All right. Love you all so much. Have the best night. Bye.